Hello and welcome to this edition of Ringside Digest. I'm your host Kirk Day, along with my co-hosts Noah Byrne and Nick Miller. And today we got a few trades to go over that have happened in the past few days, like some smaller ones that we haven't felt the need to make a big video for. So we're just going to start right off with our first one, which happened today, is Denis Gurianov is traded from the Dallas Stars to the Montreal Canadiens. Now this trade is it's something. Like, there's not much to say about it really. It's just pretty much one for one, except Dadonov has 50% retained. Now, I mean, it does make sense, I guess, in the way that Dallas does get a depth scoring forward, who at one point in his career was known for his goal scoring. But I think the main part of this is Montreal and what they get back. I did not think they would have gotten someone like Gurianov in return for Dadonov at all. I figured it would have been probably a late pick. Like, I mean, I understand. Like, they try to get as much as they can, and 50% retained as well, so that probably pushed it over a bit more for what they could get. But, like, now I'll show you Gurianov's chart as well. He's not the best this season now, but he's also a fourth liner, so you can't really base all of these stats on a whole lot of ice time, because he's not getting all of that ice time. But he's 25. Now, I'm not sure exactly how old Dadonov is, but it's close to 10 years younger, which, I mean, who knows what Gurianov will be in a couple years. So I think it's a good deal for Montreal. What do you think, Noah?
Yeah, I think the big kicker in this deal is the fact that he's a fourth liner. I know, and also like to say that he's 25 years old. You know, Montreal is obviously in no position to win now. I mean, they're trying to get Connor Bedard, but he slots in perfectly on that second line of wing there. I know they're kind of lacking some wingers there, and he fits in perfectly there with Kirby Dach on the second line center.
Yeah, I think he will be good alongside Kirby Dach's wing. I think he'll fit in there just fine. Whenever Dach comes back, that is. We don't really know what's going on with any injuries in Montreal right now. They're not really giving an update on those. But I think this is another Kent Hughes W. Like, he's done nothing but win trades ever since he came into Montreal. I just don't think this is a good deal for Dallas. Dadonov was once known as a goal scorer, a guy that put up a few points, like some decent offensive numbers. But ever since he came to Montreal, those days they're long gone. Like, he playing in Montreal, he's done pretty much nothing. Like, he has been given opportunity after opportunity to play on the top lines, and he's done nothing. Whereas Gurianov has been given no opportunity in Dallas. Now, there's no excusing that chart. But that being said, I think where the fact that he's younger, it gives Montreal the win on this trade.
Yeah, for sure. And Noah, you made a very good point in saying that his role is significantly elevated now on the Canadiens than it was with Dallas. So he'll actually give himself a chance to prove what he can do, as well in a much bigger market in Montreal. The spotlight will be on him now, especially in a deal like that, where Montreal's just bolstering the roster with young guys.
Yeah. I just want to touch on one thing. I think it was, we're going to talk about it later in the video, but Nino Niederreiter for a second, I think that was a huge factor in what Evgeny Dadonov was going to fetch. You know, obviously Montreal was trying to move him, and they were trying to get as much as they could for him. And I thought I've seen a tweet from Pierre-Luc Dubois saying that they almost got a third-round pick for him. So, I mean, as a Habs fan, I mean, I speak as a Habs fan. I'd much rather take Gurianov than a third-round pick, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, it's a lot higher reward than what you possibly could have gotten out of a third. Because we know, there's some specialties where you sometimes get a star in the third round, but it's not something that happens very often. So I think Gurianov is definitely a better return than what they probably ever thought of for Dadonov. Now, with our second trade we have here is Ivan Barbashev, trade to the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, Barbashev heads to a Golden Knights team who has a lot of injuries on forwards. Like, they have guys like Nick Leroy, Nolan Patrick, who, I mean, he's on LTIR. He's not going to play this season. And Mark Stone, who just went on the LTIR. But I think Barbashev is a good idea for them to acquire, especially for just a prospect in Zach Dean, who is a former first-round pick. But it definitely helps them a lot more, because he can go on probably their first or second line, because they do have some players who are scattered around the lineup who exactly shouldn't be where they are. Like, they need some more top names on their top lines. They have some spread through the lineup, but to bolster their forwards, like, that will definitely help them in the playoffs, especially with the injuries they have and just their system right now with what they have and the money they have as well. So they have close on $9 million, I believe now. We're putting Stone on LTIR.
Stone, yeah.
So Barbashev getting him for the price he is, having the possibility to also make another move before the March 3rd deadline, gives them a good chance of getting even a higher spot of where they thought they could go before. What do you think, Noah?
Yeah, I like adding the depth in Vegas. They're trying to make the playoffs, but I kind of look past it and I'm thinking, does this mean Timo Meier is not going to Vegas? They don't have. I mean, they just traded one of their prospects in Zach Dean. I thought he might have been one of their top prospects if I'm not correct. And I thought he would have been a package in to get Timo Meier. So I think it's more and more likely that we're not going to see Vegas get Timo Meier.
Yeah, it's unfortunate they had to trade him in the Ivan Barbashev trade. Like, there's no knock to Ivan Barbashev, but Timo Meier is more than twice the player Ivan Barbashev is. Barbashev, he hasn't been that great this season. He hasn't been putting up great numbers. His defense hasn't been very great. Like, I mean, I just don't. Look at the chart. I don't think he's been very good this season at all, and that proves it. But I mean, Ivan Barbashev is a guy that can play in the middle six. I think we talked about that in a previous video. He's a guy that can play in the middle six. He's been on a winning team in St. Louis for a couple of years. I mean, I guess that's good, but I would have liked to get Timo Meier if I'm Vegas. Like, you've been serious for forever since you've been into the league. It's time to get really serious and actually win something with it.
Yeah.
Just a little fact I've seen on Twitter too. I think it's Vegas has now been in the league. They've been in the league for 6 drafts. They've traded all but one of their first round picks. So if I'm is it Brisson? I think it's Brendan Brisson. I'm a little bit nervous.
Yeah, from what they traded all their first round picks for, it didn't come out to a lot. So
no.
A lot of what they have, but they also do like trading with St. Louis after getting Pietrangelo a couple of years ago as well. So you could see what comes out of that as well again in the future. And with our third and final trade we have here is Nino Niederreiter is traded to the Winnipeg Jets. And as you just seen, I put up the wrong screenshot. It was just for a 2024 second round pick. Now, I love this deal for the Jets. I really do. Like, Nino Niederreiter for a second by itself, fantastic deal. Nino Niederreiter has 2 years left, well, including this year, on a $4 million contract on a Winnipeg Jets team that is looking very good this season. Very, very good. And not trading any way of your players or prospects to get Nino Niederreiter, who could probably slot in your first line instead of Mason Appleton, is a fantastic deal. And especially this year, Nino Niederreiter is playing phenomenal on the offense, like 94%. And even on the defense, 58%, that is not bad at all. And I just love the deal. There's not much more I can say. He's not with a team yet, so we probably won't see for sure where he will end up on their roster. But if I were to guess, it will probably be the first or second line. So what do you think, Noah?
I'd like the deal if it was on a UFA, like he had 1 year left. They got some key guys becoming free agents. I think Mark Scheifele's in a couple of years. I think I'd much rather see the Jets kind of spend their money on. Obviously, I think I'm pretty certain in saying Mark Scheifele's the face of the Jets. So to take that, if Nino Niederreiter was on $4 million for 1 more year, I think I'd like it a lot more. I know if I was the GM of that team, I'd much rather have that $4 million to spend on the face of the franchise.
Yeah, and my initial reaction to this trade was, okay, so now we know Nashville is a seller. Because I think I saw a tweet from someone not too long ago saying that Nashville didn't know whether they were a seller or not. They were going to watch their games and come up on the trade deadline and see what would happen. But obviously they're a seller now. They're giving away Nino Niederreiter. The return of the second round pick is not bad for Nino Niederreiter at all, but I think the Jets do come out with the win on the trade. Nino Niederreiter has another year left, so it's not just a 1 year rental, and you're not giving up a second round pick for a 1 year rental. You're getting 2 years of Nino Niederreiter. And even if he doesn't slot in on the first line, they want to keep maybe the chemistry's good on the first line. Maybe they slot him in second or third line. Nino Niederreiter is a fantastic depth scoring piece. Like, he's a good first liner. He's a fantastic depth scoring piece. Like, we've seen what Niederreiter can do in the past. He's been on Minnesota, and he's had a few successful years there and all that stuff. But yeah, I definitely like the trade for Winnipeg.
It sets the market too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Nino Niederreiter is also a big body, which seems to be what Winnipeg likes. You got guys like Pierre-Luc Dubois, Blake Wheeler, Mark Scheifele, like Dustin Bufflin a couple years ago. They do like their big guys. And Nino Niederreiter is definitely the power forward they would like to have. So
absolutely.
I think
Add in there.
yeah. And I'm also going to ask you guys a question here now. Do you think that acquiring Nino Niederreiter makes it more likely that Pierre-Luc Dubois leaves in a trade, possibly to Montreal?
I'd like it.
I think Pierre-Luc Dubois is already a Montreal Canadien. Let's be honest here. We've been seeing rumors about that for a while, and there was a tweet from someone not too long ago. I can't remember exactly who tweeted it, but it was saying that Pierre-Luc Dubois' camp is leaning towards Montreal. I think it was Friedman. Friedman might have said it on the podcast. Friedman said that his camp is leaning towards Montreal. So that's that we can talk about that in another video. But I think that might influence Pierre-Luc Dubois' decision on where he wants to go. I think.
Yeah.
I'd much rather, like I said, have that money to spend on big name. I kind of forgot about Pierre-Luc Dubois. Now that you guys talked about it, but $4 million is a good chunk of money, I think, especially when Pierre-Luc Dubois is going to command upwards of $8 million.
Yeah, for sure. So it's definitely something that they're going to have to work around for having him the next 2 years, unless their plan is to get him through the playoffs and maybe just trade him next year at the deadline. Like 50% retained, you don't know. But I would say that Winnipeg will be as close to as good as they are this year. So he probably will go into a playoff run again with them next year at $4 million, and then see what happens after that.
It's a big factor if they go deep in the playoffs.
Yep, sure. That's all we got for this video, guys. So we're gonna go over every trade that happens at the deadline. Well, to an extent, any like NHL trade that happens, any like major leaguers. So we hope you like this video. So if you want to see more of it, make sure to subscribe because we're going to be posting all throughout the off season. Free agencies coming up right after the season. You got the trade deadline coming up here on Friday, March 3rd. So we're going to have a lot of content relating trades and players and teams heading into the playoffs. So if you like this video, make sure to subscribe and thank you for watching.